All right, welcome to a special edition of the Get Off My Lawn Records podcast. Get off my lawn! I'm Donald W. Moore. I'm talking to a guy I've known now for, oh God, let's not talk about how long it's been since school. But it's Keshen, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
The problem is I haven't seen you in person in years, and we're communicating by text over Facebook, so I forget pronunciations. And
totally.
so you're out in LA.
Yeah, out in LA, it's been 13 years this June.
13 years in
So,
LA.
yeah, it's been that long, man. Haven't seen you in a while. It's always great to catch up.
Yeah, next time
And
next time I'm in LA, we'll go get lunch.
yeah, man.
I
That,
last time I was there, Tim Armstrong introduced me to the Grove.
yes, the
And there
Grove is nice.
and there was this Brazilian place. It was really good, Brazilian barbecue in there.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember the name of it, but it was excellent. So what are you doing out in LA? The how we kind of lost touch, and then we got back to you needed somebody to play guitar, and I was like, yeah, all right, I'll play guitar on your thing. And I recorded a bunch of
Yeah,
takes, most of it terrible, and I sent it to you, and you integrated it into your tune. So
no,
you're
it's
producing,
great.
and then
Went over, it was awesome. And yeah, I've been pretty much all over the place. It's been a lot of TV placement, engineering, radio shows.
yeah,
And a lot of DJing, which is why we were catching up before on the DJing tip. But
that's right.
most recently, I started doing A&R for Atlantic Urban Division.
That's really
So
cool.
I've been doing the A&R thing and
So
just
describe to the audience, because Get Off My Lawn Records is very, very small. It's kind of a one guy. Well, it's Carissa and I. So what is A&R to Atlantic? Like, what is that in the process?
so the Urban Division, we're just catering to the urban artists.
Right. So
We
hip
check
hop.
the roster. So yeah, so beats, songwriters, artists, and they just have rooms running like almost 24/7 where they're just sort of like flipping material, and part of the A&R is to like cater to the artists and help them develop. And so, it's that sort of thing where we're on the street, but we're also trying to make sure that things run smoothly at the studio.
Absolutely. And so you go out, you meet an artist, you say, "Hey, you're promising. Let's bring you in. Let's." Are you guys cutting LPs or are you cutting singles?
Pretty much singles.
Yeah.
They had the Taylor Gang camp last night or 2 nights ago with Ty Dolla Sign, and I guess the Taylor Gang is also Wiz Khalifa, but Wiz wasn't there. But they just had all their writers in there and just curating and creating and going through the folders of what the A&R and everyone brings to the table, and just seeing what comes up writing wise.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's so. How do you fall into that? How do you get started, or how did you get started? Like, did you know a guy, or did it come from a gig, or how'd that go?
It kind of ties in to the DJ background, like we were talking about before, just always looking for the next hot thing. And then also, you know, it came together through a Berkeley. I guess he graduated this year, Donald. It's been so long. He graduated like this year, last year, and he posted, I know, tell me about it. He posted something, and I sort of like submitted through that. So it's like, however many years later, the Berkeley thing is still out there. So it was on
Right.
the Berkeley book group.
Yeah, I'm on the Berkeley. I'm on. There's an Austin Berkeley alumni group. There's a Berkeley group. Facebook's really good about that stuff. It really helps you leverage those kind of networks to discover new interesting things.
Right?
And
But yeah, a lot of fun.
that's wild. So yeah, we
You
went
know,
to we went to school. You were studying MP&E, right? And
yes.
And just for the audience, give everybody the 30-second walkthrough of like what Studio A looked like.
Oh man, years ago, I don't know. I guess we had a few SSLs, right? And there was like a Neve, and we had the basics. But there's a whole new building from what I hear now, and it's just ridiculous. I've seen the pictures, and it's like nicer than any studio. Like I've worked in a couple of good studios out here, right, over the years, but like it's nothing. Like this is like Abbey Road level. Like every room is like the top of the line stuff
Everything.
that I guess I can't say it's obsolete. It's always great to know it because when you're in those rooms, you better know the stuff. But but yeah, I've been running with my home studio now since, I moved out here in '04, and like the TV placements have been growing and the sound has been getting better, you know. So it's no longer as necessary, hate to break it to you, recent grads, but uh yeah.
Yeah, that's so. I've been doing. I've before I started Get Off My Lawn Records. I opened a commercial studio in Northeast Austin, Texas, and
Oh, nice.
I was doing mastering because I
Okay.
the first thing I did when I got to Austin is I bought a really obnoxiously good pair of speakers. Right, I went
Nice.
into
Which one?
I run Paradigm and an Anthem amp.
Okay.
I actually have two sets of Paradigms now, but the other set's in the other room. That's just the big three ways are my listening. It's just for listening though. They're probably moving into this room eventually. But yeah,
Nice.
I do most of my work on the on monitor 3 on monitor 8s. It's a 8-inch with a with a tweeter, and the Anthem amp it's a tube solid hybrid. So, you know,
Nice.
but it
I
sounds
got
really
my
good and it really translates. That's why I do it. So I was
I've been running, yeah, the
yeah.
KRKs for a while. The like some yellow limited edition ones.
Oh, look at those. Those
No,
are spiffy. Tell me you have an
no,
Instagram and you've got those up on Instagram.
I don't, but
You got to get your
I've had 'em,
Instagram together, man.
my little SpongeBob. It's so dark in here, but you could see them.
I do. Yeah. So
Yeah, man.
so so it sounds like you just pound the pavement. Yeah, I so really what I wanted to talk to you about cuz you know dance music better than I do. At least you know the range of it better than I do. I don't know. I'm just going with you know it better than I do. So
Yep.
like I understand when I hear a drop. I actually understand what a drop is. I just have a hard time putting it into words. It's like from an arranging standpoint, it's a release of tension. But like you're like, yep, you just look for the drop and see if the drop's awesome, and that's all that matters.
Pretty much.
You
So I started DJing in, I want to say like 97, end of 97, early 98, and it was in Miami where dance music was only printed on vinyl and all the European shit was only printed on vinyl. So you could only spin your set in the club on turntables, right? So when you look at the vinyl, there's when the music drops, when like the heavy rhythms of the dance track drops out, there's like a difference in the way the vinyl looks.
yeah.
So you'd grab a stack of records back in the day at Danceterium, or there was a couple other ones, and you'd grab a stack of records of the genres you liked, and you would just go straight to the drop, and you would just see if that was good.
Yeah.
And if that was good, you knew that was gonna, you'd at least listen to it again before you bought it, kind of thing. But you're just sort of surfing through tons of tracks. I guess why it got convoluted now, because fast forward, through all the generations of the DJs now, is they'll use the vocal, here's, drop the bass or drop the beat or whatever, so
Right.
that might convoluted the meaning of it, now. But that's kind of what you hope for in good dance music is a good drop. a good build up and a good release.
Right. And I mean, so when we were in school, they didn't really. I don't remember many teachers talking about build up and release on that broad of a like on an arranging level like that. You know, there was a lot of
So
5-1 and a lot of 2-5-1, but there was not a lot of yeah. And then 3 minutes in, you got to make their head explode.
right, right.
Well, let me ask you this: so when you're cruising these dance records, how far in is the drop usually? Is it usually halfway through the track, 2/3 of the way
Um,
in?
I mean, yeah, you want. I mean, some would say, it's right in it's when you first introduce the song. Like that's sort of from a DJ's perspective, like you're bringing them straight to the drop, and if it's good, then it keeps the party going.
Well, I meant from
That's
like you're going through these records. You must have saw it over and over and over. It's like it's about halfway in because you said you were looking for a change in the vinyl. So what are you thinking? Is it half the track before you get to the drop, or 30 seconds?
I mean, about a minute in, I would
About a
say,
minute.
30 seconds to a minute. It's gotten okay, so that's a good question because it's gotten shorter and shorter over the years. It used to be like you would blend a track for like a minute, 45 seconds type thing, and then it became like 30 seconds. And the last couple of years, if you listen to this stuff, it's like a 2 bar or 4 bar drop. Like it'll the song will start, so you get only a little bit of time to blend the track.
I can't help but wonder if that's the producers going, "Oh, this is because not every DJ like now that we're digital and you can't look at the now you're digital, so you can't look at the vinyl to see where the drop is, so it's very hard to spot it like in a big long waveform. So I wonder if they've taken to that to keep DJs' attention as to what they're doing.
This makes them easier to DJ. It
Yeah.
takes 10 seconds to like cross a track over as opposed to like a minute of actually beat matching it and being like a real DJ and
Well,
like scratch.
the
You know what I
last
mean?
time
Like,
I played with a set of turntables, it was one of these digital things. It automatically beat matches and it does a pretty good job.
I know.
It's weird how
I've,
that
I
works.
I can see its applications where it would be beneficial, but
Yeah,
especially
when you're just trying to
yeah,
put when you're just trying to keep music going for a party, it's great. But
totally.
when you're trying to do actual serious DJing, yeah, stick to the vinyl. I actually
Definitely.
did a vinyl set, but
Vinyl control
I don't
for
go from drop to
Serato.
drop. What's that?
I still use the vinyl controls for Serato, so I
Yeah.
still use my turntables with the vinyl controls.
Now,
That's kind of like
what do you
just
lose
feels.
when you do that? There's got to be some stuff you can't do with that.
Is
I
that?
you're freaking out on me. Oh,
No, my
you were ringing.
did it drop?
No, you're still here.
All right.
Yeah, I'll have to cut that out.
Question.
That's fine. But yeah, like so when you're for me like with the vinyl on the when it's a vinyl with a time code like Serato does, there's something lost in the there's got to be performance techniques that are lost. What performance techniques are lost? Though we should talk to Radar about that. Radar would be able to tell us all the nuance between that.
I mean, really, there's no difference. There's only benefits to having time code vinyl as
Really?
opposed to real. Yeah.
There's no special effects that you can't achieve on timecode.
No,
Huh?
it's just a control. It's just a control. You instantly get doubles of every song.
Yeah.
So before you had to buy two, you used to, vinyl isn't cheap. You used to have to buy two of the same vinyl
Just to
to
keep the
do those
same
tricks.
track going.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's like you can actually do it with one track and one turntable. You can set it to do that. So that I mean that's hugely beneficial. I've seen DJs show up at one turntable and rock the crowd. So it's like the benefits are only positive, I believe. I don't believe there's any, time degradation when you're working the vinyl. I don't think it's noticeable. It's nothing like that.
Yeah.
So what downside would you have? You don't
Well,
have to carry crates and crates of vinyls. You got two control records.
yeah, but I mean, like, isn't there a trick where you like lick your finger and it and run it across the thing and it does a thing that you can't do on the time code? Am I losing my mind? There's got to be something lost.
No,
No. All right.
no.
We're gonna ping Radar Ellis. We're gonna bring Radar. He's teaching. He's teaching turntabling at Berkeley now.
I heard.
That's pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so awesome.
I'm really
Him
glad. What drove me nuts at Berkeley was we were working with. I forget. I would have to pull Tim's record out, but he played pedal steel on Tim Salter's record, and he was telling me he couldn't major in pedal steel, and like only now can you major in turntable at Berkeley.
Now you can. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I and with pedal steel, I imagine it's just because they didn't have enough teachers for it, but I don't know who else is teaching that at Berkeley right now, other than Radar. Though who was teaching it when we were there? That was a new class. You had to.
There was no DJ program when I was there, and when I got the invitation for the graduation party, I went to the bursar's office or whatever that was there and asked if I could DJ it. And they let me DJ the graduation party and gave me like a gift certificate for Virgin Records or whatever the record store that was there right on the corner.
Oh, you know what? That's right. You finished up before me.
In '04.
That's
And
right.
literally the year after I graduated, they started the DJ program.
Yeah, they did because when I was there, they were that was it was a really like nobody could get into that class. It was like it was like a 16-person class tops, and
Yeah,
everybody wanted in. Nobody could get in. I still don't really know what I'm doing. I know how to put the needle on the thing and listen. That's about it.
right? Totally.
But I'm an analog guy. Have you ever seen these guys?
Yeah.
I've seen guys try to DJ with cassette. They'll
Well, yeah, there's some videos out there, some old school videos, but it looked like more like reel to reels. He was like scratching with them, you mean?
I've seen that too. Yeah, but not scratching, just straight up like to me there's a difference between turntablism and DJing. But turntablism is where the art is. DJing, it's not that hard to throw a couple of tunes up and get them near in sync and crossfade from one to the other. But when you get into scratching, it's a whole new ball game. That's my opinion.
Totally.
That's my opinion. I'm not going to be one to to walk around saying, DJs aren't musicians." I truly believe DJs are musicians, especially with Qbert out there doing what he's doing. You
Well,
know,
that's what I was gonna say was me and Tim maybe a couple months ago, DJ Shadow was clearing out a big chunk of his record collection, and we went down there and waited online and got some really good records. It was cool.
yeah,
But I instantly digitized them, so it's like you kind of want to have both. You want to have the flexibility of the digital, but also,
the
have the
sound of the
record.
analog when you want it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm of the same opinion. I just on this week we just released. Actually, yesterday I released a defense of the cassette. I'm a big believer in analog, but I
I
like.
was clicking through that. I saw that. That was cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I cut a lot of stuff to tape. But I can't afford reels. Everybody's got to buy more records. Buy more records. So, that's the real challenge that I have with all this. But I just got hip to a new band that was really awesome. Oh, where are they? Flatliners. That's the guy. Those are the guys. I had bought my Denon deck from a guy, right? And I just needed a 2-track cassette machine, and he gave me a copy of his album, and I know it was released on a label, but this label's really hip, man. That we might have to start doing this. It's really hard to know what the label is. Oh, it's HD 025, I guess. But anyway, the whole point is I love dance music, but I don't really. How does a DJ today go about finding new dance music? Is it still Beatport?
Oh, we used to make mixtapes to cassette.
Yeah.
So so the turntables, the mixer from the turntables would go into the receiver, which had the cassette recorder in it. And then eventually we had the CD, the real-time CD recorder.
That's
But these days, yeah, I mean it's all laptop now, and it did go through a CD phase, I would say, for like a couple years. Walked around with like the CD, big, 200 CD binder.
Yep.
Uh, and it's still, I think it kind of went back to that. Like when you look at a lot of the bigger DJs, like they're just kind of doing CD. They're a little bit more accurate, I would say, than vinyl, but vinyl just feels more buttery and fun. And, it's not about like every single track. I don't know.
Yeah.
The CDJ, again, that's bordering on it, making it a little too easy and digital
Yep.
with the CDJ. But it's cool. It's whatever floats your boat, as long as you're not auto VPMing, auto syncing or whatever. Then I'd say it's cool.
Yeah, and if somebody who's doing that is probably focusing on other things like live remixes and things. But
But they have all the Dead Mouse generation now with all these DJs that have like the SMPTE video code. So
and
their
that
whole
stuff's
set is
super cool.
it's cool, but you got to remember then it's all pre-programmed, and that's where the whole joke came in. I don't know if you saw the Family Guy recently. Did you see it with the about the DJs?
I
So
Well, no, but
yes,
it's an old meme that Skrillex presses play and then folds his arms. So,
right,
yeah, it's
right.
it's
So
been that way. Yeah, I'm not one to rag on the next generation. They're gonna make the music they're gonna make. The next generation of DJs, at least to me, it seems like they're less interested in the art of DJing and turntablism, but they're producers.
oh, totally.
You know
I'm
what I
all for
mean?
it.
Like a lot of DJs from back in the vinyl days, a lot of them would never actually cut something themselves. They would just spin other people's records. And I don't know. I mean, there's an art to doing that, and there's an art to being a producer. I'm just not one to crap all over other people. But the tough part
Yeah,
is, as an A&R guy, you're constantly having to say no. Your whole day is no, 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 no. Okay. You're
I know. I know. They're very, very selective at the meetings.
Yeah.
Extremely selective. Yeah, we bring songs every other week.
So you have an every other week, and you bring material. Are you actively soliciting? How do you, like, if somebody's interested in putting something in your hands, are you accepting things, or is there a
Oh,
process?
yeah, just always accepting and always looking around, checking out SoundCloud. A lot of people seem to have been moving to Reverb Nation lately, and also Bandcamp. Maybe I just haven't known as much about Bandcamp, but
Yeah, we're on Bandcamp. I like working. Bandcamp's really great to work with. That's the real upside
yeah,
to like SoundCloud. You can't monetize it. There's no way to actually like sell it, as far as I can tell. So as an independent, it's really hard to post stuff on SoundCloud and go, yeah, I feel good about that decision. And now like
and then
Spotify bought
just
them, so like there's worry that all your stuff's gonna wind up on Spotify.
wait, Spotify bought SoundCloud?
I'm pretty sure Spotify bought Sound. So somebody fact check me in the comments on that.
Nice.
But that's the way I look at it. It's like you got these. It's just two different generations doing things completely different. You have to remember the guys before us thought turntables were stupid, and not
Right.
music and not an instrument and blah 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 blah. Get off my lawn. See how this all comes around. But that's that for me. I just try to, even though it's Get Off My Lawn Records, I try to keep an open mind. I mean, the next generation's going to do what the next generation's going to do, and I'm pretty sure they're going to make some pretty cool stuff along the way.
Right.
It's almost impossible to not. you
Are you
know,
for streaming or against?
um I have such mixed feelings. Right now we put everything up on Bandcamp for free. to listen to. I put a limit on it of 3, so you can listen to it 3 times, and then you got to buy it. Um, the problem with streaming is it doesn't pay enough. It's like YouTube pays about $1,000 per million views, so you're kind of hosed. You know what I mean?
Totally. And streaming is even less than that.
And streaming
From
is
what?
even less than that. And ultimately, like, I make this stuff
That's what.
available, but
That's
I try to only go for the streaming stuff that I trust. I only go with stuff that monetizes, and I specifically I go back and forth on Spotify, but I think I'm gonna have to put my foot down on Spotify. The problem is as a label, I have to look at it and go, well, where are the people listening to the music? My whole job is to promote music and my music, but I need a way to be able to sell something. So maybe we do T-shirts and put it on. We put everything on. We all the Jazz Destroyer stuff is on YouTube,
hmm
and at least there I get ad revenue. But I'm just happy if they're buying T-shirts or the records or just supporting the bands in some way. But I would
Totally.
prefer them to buy the record because, well, I'm a record company. So,
Right.
and I make records. And that's kind of what you're doing too. I find the major label stuff very interesting. I'm curious about how it's changed over the years, but you're relatively new in the major label side of it, aren't you? Like everybody I know is either been around for a long time or they're really starting to break in, but that's about it.
No, it actually reminded me when you said Spotify of a little like major label tidbit, I guess you could call it. Uh, I was sent down to get the info for a gentleman named Troy Carter, where I had walked into the office. This was like last month,
Okay?
and the secretary had told me that Troy Carter was no longer managing artists because I had said I was from Atlantic, yada yada.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I had looked into it, it turns out that he used to manage John Legend and I think J Lo, someone else, like a couple other people,
Sure.
and now he's the main investor in Spotify. So I found that very interesting that he was no longer managing artists. His secretary told me they're no longer taking on artists because they had thought I was approaching them, from the
Right.
A&R department. But it turns out they were trying to get in touch with him on some Spotify type connections.
Yeah.
But it is a sign of where the industry's going, that's for sure, and that's why I've moved more to TV placement. Like as long as you have a non-exclusive with your publishing, then you can shop to random, multiple publishing opportunities and get the stuff placed in television and commercials. And I keep my BMI statement on the watch out, puppy in the way, sorry. I keep it on my door.
Yeah.
So and every time I walk out the door, like I'm kind of reminded to sort of like keep throwing fuel on that fire sort of thing.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean the more music that can be created, it increases the potential of getting placement. So I just keep that going as much as I can.
So you're constantly making new tracks, and this is your model. You're making new tracks. You're trying to license it for film and television. And how do you get your track to the person who makes the decision to use it? That's the tough part.
So, yeah, so the music supervisors often will take on more than one show at a time. The company that I'm with, they oversee a lot of TV placement type stuff. They're a one-stop shop where they'll do the audio post and write the theme song and cut in all the music cues. It's sort of a one-stop shop. I had contacted them for 7 years, Don.
Wow.
7 on and off. This is even through a family connection, right? Like a
Right.
friend of a family, blah blah blah. Just sort of like digitally knocking on the door on and off for 7 years, phone calls and whatnot.
Yeah.
Finally, I guess my music had progressed over the years
Okay.
and enough for them to at least give me a shot. And I think I'm up to about 30, a little over 30 placements, and just sort of looking to continue.
That's very
Make
cool.
it 3,000.
Yeah.
In his heyday, this is what I was told. The head of the company had, I think, averaged like 5,000 placements a year
Oh
on
wow.
average. Like that was his heyday. So I mean, you can imagine the quarterly on that one.
I can't.
And it's
I've
changed.
never
It's
I've
just
never had a placement now that I think about it. I'm not I've got the
it's changed. Yeah.
yeah, I've got this archive of stuff now that I really need to go pursue. Um we just recorded some stuff with Paul Serrato over the last week, which is why we're doing all these special editions of the podcast. And he was telling me he's really into licensing for film and television too. But yeah, it's real. I mean, unless you have the connection in to get to a music supervisor, it's pretty grim. I mean, there's
It's a lot of
services and things, but it's pretty grim.
it's definitely a lot of door knocking and phone calling and sort of getting used to that sort of the
Yeah,
grim side of it. And then there's a little glimpse every now and then, so it makes it worth it.
yeah, I agree. Yeah. So, so do you have any final? Let's talk about. So how? What's the best way for people to get in contact with you for your music? First of all, how do they find your music?
Um, it's a good question. I've had my press kit because I do a lot of post production.
Right.
I guess to hear music and see my work, that would be the best way. It's www.presskit.to
Okay.
slash Adam Keshen.
Got it. And I'll put a link to that in the description. Please pardon me if I ping you for that link again when I'm uploading it, because when I
Got you.
when I
Yeah.
put these up, I don't have time to listen to them all the way through. Sometimes I'll go
Yeah.
back and like go, oh, I got to listen for this one part. But yeah, I build these the on a previous special edition. I showed how I edit like these a 2 hour long show in about 30 minutes. It
Right.
because I'm really into the efficiency of it, because I
Very
have to
cool.
be. I'm a one guy shop. I don't get you get to do one very specific part and kind of interface with this big machine and the big machine actually accounts for 74% of all revenue generated in the music industry right now is all major label.
Hmm.
And as an independent, so I'm fighting for a 24% slice of the pie. But I I find it but LA's hyper. How much are you pay? You've got to be paying a fortune in rent.
It's not bad.
Not bad.
It's actually up over the years. It's kind of the same like how it was in Boston. Um, it has shot up though the last couple of years, and we're lucky because we're under rent control, so they can only raise us, I think, 2.5% a year, something like that.
So you'll be in that place forever. That'll be the most affordable place forever for you till you buy.
No, we're looking around. We're
Are
looking
you?
around. Yeah.
Sublet it to me.
Right on.
Yeah. So, do you have any parting thoughts for the audience? We get a lot of, obviously I make a podcast about making music, so we get a lot of people aspiring to get into the business. And I really try to provide the context of like what it takes to be an independent, right? Where like I have to physically make CDs and hand them out to the artists. And then we have to go do our shows and play the shows. We don't it's really hard to get your stuff into like Walmart, and it's really hard to get noticed online. But you guys
I
have
think
you guys have a different
the
kind of approach.
yeah, sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt, but the best advice I can give is the major labels, they're good, but they're not as necessary as they used to be.
I agree with
And
that.
that an up and coming label with the right tour support, and again, that's not financially, that can be, you know, people running the streets for you, booking the shows, collecting the money, creating expense reports, yada yada. As long as you have a good street team, you can be like what happened to what's his name, Chance the Rapper. Without the record deal, he got like 2 Grammys. He created such a buzz, such an online buzz, and his shows were so charismatic that he had to win a Grammy. That you have to you know talent like that does not go unnoticed.
Yeah.
So it's not as necessary to have the support of a label anymore. And what's his name did it too. Macklemore
Yes.
had a
Though
number one
though
without a
we should point out that Macklemore still had heavy financial backing. That first record, everything was really immaculately recorded. You know what I mean?
right,
That wasn't done in a bedroom. That was
right.
that was done in a
Saying
facility.
major label versus unsigned versus signed, it's not necessary anymore. Like with the proper social media marketing and like I said, with the right team, like it's very possible.
Right. And that's what we try to. And so what happens is with me, I can only work with about 12 bands a year. That's about it. That's about all I can take on because I got to make the record. Right? I don't do things on spec. I find the band, I cut the record I want to cut, and then we go share. And you know, we charge more for records because of the fact that it's a small team. You know, like at least when we sell them, but at least when I'm selling the $25 copy, you know, $10 of it went into the labor or the materials of doing it. And I pay everybody $15 an hour or better when we produce physical copies. So so Adam, thank you for joining us on this special edition. We when you get something going you want us to give it a shout out, absolutely. Just let me know what's going on and we do our shout outs every week. So
Yeah.
so guys, thanks for watching, and on that note,